Today we have a brand new off-road stadium truck from Arrma that's four-wheel drive, uses 3S brushless electronics, and is the fastest vehicle available in the 3S BLX lineup, and also the most expensive. But why? Well, today we set out to answer that while we review the truck, see exactly how fast is it, and then we'll just get a little wild with the all-new Vortex 3S BLX. The all-new Vortex is the fifth vehicle in the 3S BLX lineup from Arrma, which includes a nice variety of vehicles, including the Big Rock Truggy, the Granite Monster Truck, the Sentin Short Course Truck, and the Typhon Buggy. To add to this selection, the new Vortex Stadium truck brings some heat with advertised speeds of 60 miles an hour and now features the full spectrum smart technology suite, which has some cool benefits to it, but we'll talk more about that later. Now there's no surprises when you unbox the Vortex. Inside you'll find the truck assembled with all the electronics installed and the body painted. There are also some instructions, some basic tools, extra little parts, and the transmitter. There are a couple of required items. The truck needs a 2-cell or 3-cell LiPo battery, and the transmitter requires 4 AA batteries. But with that, the truck is ready to rip, and it does so in style with one of the best paint jobs in the lineup, and it's available in 3 colors: red, purple, and green. In addition to the cool paint schemes, on these bodies you'll find an injected molded wing on the rear end secured from the inside. There's also injected molded skid rails on the roof, also attached from the inside, that help prolong the life of the body when bashing. Now something new is how low the body is positioned in this truck. It's hard to tell on its own, but compared next to the Big Rock 3S BLX, you get the idea. Now the Big Rock uses taller tires, so this isn't a perfect example, but you get my drift. Oh, and if you're wondering, here's what the Big Rock tires look like mounted on the Vortex. If you're digging this video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now with the body lowered on the Vortex, it helps the stadium truck styling look a little more proper while also lowering the center of gravity and enhancing performance. And since this is a 60-mile-an-hour truck, we need that. Now to make this possible, Arrma uses shorter shock towers in the front and rear with shorter shocks. There are also different body mounts that are adjustable, of course, if you want to use aftermarket bodies. To go along with our stadium truck styling are our gunmetal colored wheels with DeBoots Qatar tires. These wheels use a 14mm hex, which is not as common as a 12 or 17mm hex, so it's really important to pay attention to that when choosing aftermarket tires and wheels. If you wanted to convert these hexes, this Hot Racing 17mm hex conversion kit can make it happen. One last really cool thing about these tires is that Arrma is putting the vent holes on the tire. Although they've been doing this for a little while and I just didn't know. Typically people put vent holes inside the wheel, which tends to trap in water for those who drive in wet conditions. So having that hole on the tire now is going to be super helpful for people who drive in the wet. Now inside the Vortex chassis, this is very much a 3S BLX vehicle and has all the standard equipment plus some new stuff, including the use of this new Spectra Firma 100 amp smart ESC. This ESC is 2S and 3S compatible and uses an IC5 connector that's also compatible with EC5. The Vortex also uses the Spectrum 3660 3200 kV motor, which we've seen used before, and that sits under the heatsink and fan. This motor also uses the safety D-shaped pinion gears that hold onto the motor shaft even if that set screw comes loose. The truck also uses the S651 servo, which is pretty standard equipment, and then all of that electronics we just talked about is waterproof. The last piece of electronics that isn't waterproof is the AVC receiver, and that comes included and paired to the Spectrum DX3. Now this DX3 transmitter is kind of special because the Vortex is the first in that 3S lineup to include a transmitter like this that is compatible with the full Spectrum smart technology suite, including AVC or active vehicle control, which is a gyro supported steering system for when the rear end gets squirrely. And that AVC is really helpful in loose conditions. It's not recommended for speed runs, but it is adjustable, or you can turn it off completely using this knob on the transmitter. Another nice feature of the DX3 and Smart Tech are the LED battery indicators on the top of the transmitter that indicate the truck's battery life, so you have an idea of how much runtime remains when you use Spectrum smart batteries. So the Vortex costs $50 more than the other 3S BLX trucks, and I think we found out why. The Vortex includes a better transmitter and receiver with ABC, the truck includes the Arrma 100 amp ESC, and the Vortex has been configured to reach 60 miles an hour. But can it really? Now the truck comes with two different gearing options. There's an 18 tooth for general driving and bashing, and that's installed on the truck. Then there's a second 20 tooth pinion gear for use with speed runs that you'll have to install yourself. That 20 tooth pinion gear is for speed runs only. If you use it when bashing, you'll burn up the electronics in your truck. For our speed runs and all the Vortex driving, we're gonna use this old and now discontinued Gens Ace 3-cell LiPo battery. Now for our first test, we use the 18 tooth gearing for the out-of-the-box experience.
It's good.
Now after a few passes, just warming up, we were able to get our fastest recorded speed, which was 55 miles per hour. All right, let's change the gearing and install that 20 tooth high-speed pinion gear. We'll top off our battery and try again. Now with that larger pinion gear, we again just warmed up, doing some passes. And the Vortex 3S BLX was able to reach a top speed of 59 miles per hour.
59.
No, that's it?
Yeah.
It was 59?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not acceptable.
It's basically 60.
It's basically 60.
It's basically 60.
It's basically 60.
Now driving on the pavement with the Vortex is awesome, and I found myself trying to pull off big old power slides because the truck is just fast, it's stable, it has no interest in traction rolling, and you can just push it as hard as you want. There is a fine line though with high-speed cornering where the truck will hook around on you pretty quick if you get too close to that edge. But the AVC helps out with this if you want to use it, but we didn't. Now in the parking lot of AMain Hobbies, it's really dusty and dirty, and we couldn't get the Vortex to pop a wheelie because there was too much wheel spin. The throttle response when you first pull the trigger when the truck's at a dead stop is a little soft initially too, almost like the power needs to ramp up, or maybe it's just geared too high and needs a smaller pinion gear. I'm not sure. A lot of people online have recommended turning the punch setting on the ESC up to level 1 because it comes programmed at level 3, and that would help deliver more initial power. We didn't try this, but it is a solution for those that are interested. Just watch those motor temps, guys. For wheelies, we discovered all we needed was a better surface, and our speed run location had plenty of traction for us to pop wheelies, with some really impressive high-speed dancing action along the way. Now, we still couldn't pop a wheelie from a dead stop, but if we were moving, it would. Once the truck was in the wheelie position, holding it as you drive down the road is super fun and only encourages you to push it harder, faster, and further. And for the high-speed, high-performance characteristics of this truck, it really came to life for me on the pavement, with the truck feeling a bit more responsive and nimble, not numb. In the dirt, we blasted up and down the dirt parking lot of our local Silver Dollar RC Raceway track with no regard to the terrain or the big old rocks in the way. The Vortex power turned out to be a little too aggressive for these traction levels, which is a really good problem to have, but the Vortex was a handful to drive. And for the first time, we used AVC out here, slowly dialing in more and more. We even brought our ramp for some good old RC jumping, even though the Vortex is not really meant for big jumps, but it took it. There was even one time where we were just driving back and forth full wood and we accidentally hit the ramp going full speed, and the truck unintentionally backflipped and kind of landed on its nose as I attempted to correct it in the air unsuccessfully. Nothing broke, thankfully, but the battery connector came unplugged, which is a really easy fix. Now after this, I couldn't help it, guys. I'm sorry, but I needed to hit that dang old pavement more, driving as hard as I could from dirt to pavement and back and forth, flinging rocks and shooting roost. I really needed this. I'm starting to think the Vortex is my new favorite. What was that? So we had an issue, which is there is a screw that secures the plastic drive shaft to the metal axle, and that screw came loose, allowing the tire, still attached to the axle, to go completely rolling off. Now after inspecting the screw, it didn't look like it had much Loctite applied, although it definitely should. So we easily fixed this and improved it by just adding Loctite to that screw and reinstalling. Guys, if you want more info on the high-speed Vortex 3S BLX, check out our links down below, and check out these videos for more RC.